Over the past few years, cancel culture has become a growing phenomenon. While for many reasons it's good, I also know some who might argue why it's bad. However, it has been able to weed out some of the dangerous individuals who lurk through Hollywood. But there just so happens to be one individual who has conveniently been able to escape it or work around it, and that is Mel Gibson. If you're a fan of action movies from the late 90s or early 2000s, then I'm sure you are familiar with Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson has starred in and directed a variety of successful films, including Mad Max, Lethal Weapon, Braveheart, and The Passion of the Christ. He has received numerous awards for his outstanding acting and directing skills. His 1996 film Braveheart also won numerous awards, including Best Director and Best Picture. Although it is said that there is no such thing as bad publicity, this did not apply to Mel, as his fame has waned these few years due to his behavior and comments he has made publicly. Gibson, when he's not bragging about his involvement in fights, eating a dog he shouldn't have, stapling his sister's skull, or minimizing an event involving drunk driving, confesses that he has a self-destructive tendency and can't control himself. Now, despite all of this and more, people are still listening to the crazy things spewing out of his mouth. So much so that President Donald Trump has appointed him special ambassador to troubled Hollywood. I'm sorry, but that's just downright insane. So when and how did all of the madness start? It was back in 1998 at an interview with Mike Figgis in Hollywood Conversations, where Mel Gibson started to divulge several insight about the Hollywood industry. Although this was done subtly, it was enough to spark attention and conversation about what and who he was talking about. While speaking to the interviewer, he stated the view of a particular producer who has an opinion about women on screen. He said that women on film, either naked or dead, both is better. This led to questions about who he was talking about and whether that statement was true. A study of some women who had won awards was made, and it was found that a large amount of them had gotten naked, which even added meaning to the words said in the interview. Consciously or not, Gibson sure knows how to start a conspiracy topic. However, it didn't end there, as the actor in the same interview narrated his experience with Christopher Walken during a rooftop gathering in New York. He said that as Christopher approached him, it felt like he was floating sideways, describing the movement as being graceful, as the latter was formerly a dancer. This experience may mean different things. It could be physically or metaphorical. Did Gibson mean an actual floating of Christopher? This may give evidence to show that he might be losing his mind. And if it was metaphorical, it may be a reference to the Antichrist statement that Christopher had made in the movie Pulp Fiction, where Christopher in his character says, "Do you know what I am? I'm the Antichrist." The chances that it was a reference to the movie are quite low, as Gibson spoke as though he actually saw Christopher float on that day. Of course, there is a lot to unpack as regards to Gibson. Apart from being labeled as anti-Semitic, Mel Gibson's past comments and actions have been widely criticized for being homophobic and intolerant. His remarks in the 1991 El Paris interview were particularly harmful and perpetuated negative stereotypes about the LGBTQ+ community. Gibson in this interview said, "With this look, who's going to think I'm gay? I don't lend myself to that type of assumption. Do I look like someone who fits that stereotype? Do I talk or move in a way that suggests it?" The actor then made a controversial remark about the gay community, and his words were regarded as being offensive, and it was taken up by the community. As always, there is a thin line between expressing oneself and trying to stir trouble or cause fights unnecessarily. If you think it ended there, then you're wrong, as that was only the tip of the iceberg. He went a step further to make things worse in another interview with a magazine, Playboy, where he was asked if he would apologize to the LGBTQ+ community, and of course, he didn't. He said he would apologize when hell freezes. To take things a step further, Gibson was arrested by an officer for drunk driving in Malibu, California in 2006. He said to the officer, "The Jews are responsible for all the wars in the world. Are you a Jew?" This incident led to widespread disapproval, and many people called him out for his misbehavior and asked for his exclusion from Hollywood. The officer, County Sheriff Deputy James Mee, wrote in the police report that Gibson had threatened him and further said he would spend all of his money to get even with him. This incident digging deep into the public's opinion about the actor and his reputation was further soiled. Winona Ryder recounted a similar experience with the actor in an interview in 2010. She claimed that Gibson had made homophobic remarks to her gay friend, and when he found out she was Jewish, he made anti-Semitic comments about her at a party in the 90s. He said something about oven dodgers, but I didn't get it. I'd never heard that before. This statement is a deeply offensive and derogatory term that referenced the Holocaust, in which millions of Jews were killed in gas chambers and their bodies were cremated in ovens. It's quite certain that persons in the right state of mind do not use words like this, even as a joke. Spokesperson for Gibson issued a statement denying her accusations when she recalled the story again in 2020. He said the star had lied about the experience with Gibson more than 10 years ago and that she was also lying about it again. He went on to state how Gibson reached out to comfort her years ago and that she had refused to address the issue then. This was told to The Hollywood Reporter. In response, Ryder expressed her well wishes for Gibson's future, stating the incident remains a painful and vivid memory for her. Although she added that she wishes him well on his lifelong journey, her statement served as a reminder to the public of Gibson's past controversies involving his choice of words. As a reaction to these statements, people took to Twitter, now known as X, to voice their opinions. A Twitter user wrote, "Mel Gibson is an anti-Semitic lowlife who doesn't even deserve to hold another job in Hollywood." Jonathan Greenblatt, CEO of Anti-Defamation League, tweeted, "Winona Ryder's account is another example of Mel Gibson's disgusting anti-Semitism and homophobia. But it's not just about hate. The same white male privilege and power that props up a bigot like Gibson also safeguard a system that holds back so many talented, diverse artists." In July of 2010, a certain audio recording circulated online and Gibson could be heard making abusive remarks during a conversation with his ex-girlfriend, Oksana Grigorieva. The two of them had been together since 2007 and they had a child together. The recording was allegedly stated to say, "You go out in public and it's an embarrassment to me." He insulted her with a derogatory remark, describing her in offensive terms, and then made a deeply inappropriate and racist comment, suggesting that if she were to be assaulted, it would be her fault.
"I don't work around in tight clothes. I stay home for most of the time.
You go out in public and it's an embarrassment to me. You look like a bitch on heat, and if you get raped by a packet, it'll be your fault. All right? Because you provoked it. You are provocatively dressed all the time with your fake boobs you feel you have to show off."
The actor, however, claimed that the tapes were edited and suggested that the content had been taken out of context. While the actor explained that the remarks were made during an irrational and heated argument and only described the incident as a single terrible moment. This is one of several incidences where the actor has claimed not to have intended his words to be derogatory or offensive. However, consistently choosing the wrong words raises questions. When such behavior is repeated, it can no longer be seen as a mistake, but rather as intentional, regardless of the circumstances. This incident later resulted in a legal battle with Gibson pleading no contest to a misdemeanor battery charge. The cumulative of all the incidences affected his popularity, but this actor came back even stronger with Hacksaw Ridge in 2016, and this movie won 2 Academy Awards. And probably because he keeps up with making hit movies without falling off badly, he didn't change with his outrageous utterances. With the recent shocking news of the Los Angeles wildfires, our popular voice piece Mel Gibson had speculated the possibility of the fire being a potential arson and a result of government negligence. He also went on to suggest a conspiracy theory about the fires being set in this area intentionally. He spoke about the situation, admitting that he could come up with various troubling theories, including conspiracy theories, but observed the lack of water seemed a little too convenient. Gibson said he felt ill at ease during his visit to Austin, Texas, to appear as a guest on the Joe Rogan Experience because he knew his neighborhood was on fire. The 90s star said he had lived at his property for about 15 years and his home and some of his his neighbors were all gone. He said, "I've been relieved from the burden of my stuff because it's all in cinders." The infamous actor further went on to criticize the California governor on the podcast with Rogan this year, saying that the governor claimed he was going to take care of the forests but didn't do anything. He further accused him of failing to manage the state's forests and redirecting funds for personal use. These remarks further solidified Gibson's reputation as a polarizing figure who often speaks without a filter regardless of the consequences. He went on with his suspicions, saying that the wind conditions were right and that there were people ready and willing and able to start fires. He also speculated if the alleged arsonists were commissioned or just acting on their own violation, wondering aloud if the fires were set on purpose. Though the authorities have attributed the massive fires to an unusually dry season, hurricane-force Santa Ana winds that rapidly spread the flames, and more broadly, the impact of global warming. Throughout the years, Gibson had always found a way to have unflattering opinions, which makes us question his state of mind and whether he needs to get help. Although he has spent a lot of years in the industry, his career has been riddled with accusations of anti-Semitism, homophobia, racism, and domestic violence, which are largely based on the statements made or his reactions to things. While some people view him as an immensely talented filmmaker and actor, others see him as a symbol of the industry's leniency towards problematic figures, as persons with constant questionable attitudes do not get this many chances to get back on track. Although for many of these incidences, Gibson had claimed to be drunk and under the influence of alcohol. However, it is said that being drunk sometimes reflects a person's true perception or opinion about things. He has always been someone with a couple of loose screws, but now when you put all the pieces together, it becomes as clear as day that he needs help. I think it is clear that Mel Gibson needs to be held accountable for his actions and should no longer be able to work in Hollywood. He has done more harm than good and only continues to spread lies and conspiracy, which only makes things worse. But I want to hear what you think. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and if you liked this video, make sure to click and subscribe, and we will catch you on the next one.